The Women in Finance Nigeria, as part of the advocacy role in driving financial inclusion for women, hosted their second quarterly breakfast meeting for the year 2018 in Lagos. It focused on the theme, The Future of Financial Inclusion, Key Considerations for Women in Finance. In her opening remarks, the chairperson of the Women in Finance Nigeria, Mrs. Toyin Sani, shared the objective of the group as it connects with the theme of discourse.
Women in Finance Nigeria started in 2016 with 4 very clear objectives. The first of these objectives is to be an advocacy group to promote and to push for the financial inclusion of women and for appropriate government and economic policies that will favor women in Nigeria. Our second objective is the development of women in the financial space. So we want to develop and promote women in financial roles in public and private sector institutions, and specifically in the financial industry across Nigeria. Our third objective is capacity building for these women and for all women. And finally, a networking platform for women of like minds.
In her keynote, Mrs. Modukpe Ladipo, the pioneer CEO of EFINA, gave insight into the key areas that must be addressed and leveraged on to boost financial inclusion for women in the country.
When the citizens have good access to financial services, they're then able to stimulate the economy, create wealth, and also tackle poverty, of which recently we saw the statistics that says Nigeria has the highest numbers of extreme poor people in the world. Yeah, in the world. So it's not just in Africa or anywhere, in the world, and the numbers are growing. So we really feel that access to financial services is key, it's important. So it's not just a fact, so when we all talk about financial inclusion, we need to understand the reason and the rationale behind it. Financial capability is very important. We need to understand the benefits of the products. They always have to explain. So if you sell me something that you didn't check that I actually understand, in most foreign countries, you can then go back, complain in the right place, and that institution will be fine. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen here. But we need to also make sure that consumer protection needs to be taken very seriously in Nigeria as well. We cannot put it under the Consumer Protection Council that covers all types of things. We need to have a financial ombudsman, like I keep saying, that people can feel comfortable going to complain about whatever issue they have and to feel that those issues are addressed quickly. But most people don't even know about the regulators. When EFINA we do a survey, we ask them, who are the regulators in Nigeria? People say World Bank. Is World Bank a regulator? Some say BBC. So they don't know the regulator. 20% of people knew CBN, and that was it. Nobody knows NDIC, PENCOM, NICOM. Nobody understood that. So if they don't know who the regulator is, how do they even know where they will go to complain if they have a particular issue? You were beginning to allude about the gap in male versus female. So if you look at the formal gap, you can see it presents about 16%. So 30% of women in Nigeria, adult women, have a bank account, whereas it is 46.3% of men. And that, you'll see that gap sometimes widens, sometimes it comes down, but there's always that gap. The World Bank Index has that at about 24%, because they do from 15 upwards, we do only from 18 upwards. So that's that gap that you're seeing. And it's a real gap that we've closed over time, but still presents as a gap. You can see in the informal only, you can see that gap is that women like to use microfinance, but even if you look at the number of customers, if you look across all providers and you ask them the gender split of their customers, it is always male dominated. So deposit money banks, microfinance banks, insurance, pension, usually men. The place where you will find that women have more of a play more of a role is informal only. So you can see in the informal, the Isu Ado, money lender, you can see 10.9% versus 8.7%. When you look at the excluded numbers, again you have like a 10% gap. So 36% of male are excluded, whereas 46.8%, almost 50% of women are excluded from formal and informal financial services. And when we do the split between gender, I think men is like 51%, women 49%. So it's really not because of the numbers. This is actual because we're almost 50-50. These are actual differences. So if we want to get down to 20%, even men, they're not at 20% exclusion, but women are almost 2 times the exclusion rate that we're trying to achieve by the year 2020. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We just have a quick look at the age group. Where do we need to focus our attention? You can see that the 18 to 25, 53.5% excluded. The 26 to 35, that's also another bracket, 35% excluded. But even look at the above 56, see like 47% excluded. So across all age groups, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And then we see high levels of exclusion in the north. Northeast, northwest, if I put the northern region figures, some states have up to 80% exclusion. It's brutal. You know, and so if we really want to think about where we want to focus our attention, we have, and if it's in the north, you have to think of all the cultural related issues that come with that. Very high. It always used to be high levels of exclusion in the northeast first and then the northwest. For the first time when we did the survey in 2016, it switched because there was a lot of attention because of the IDPs, a lot of problems in the northeast. So a lot of donors focused their attention there, and some of the grants and benefits that you could receive had to be paid into an account. So that made sure people open the account for those reasons. But what we find is that once that grant and benefit stops, they close the account, they don't use the account anymore. They don't see any benefit using the account. So a lot of work needs to be done there.
Panelists at the event explored the dynamics and ways in which financial inclusion can be deepened in Nigeria, especially for women.
The way economy grows, the way we become rich is when we're able to bring money together. I mean, if you have money today, you don't need it. Somebody needs the money to do some productive activity. Banking and finance is able to use that money from the net depositor to the guy who wants to borrow for productive use and create value. But when that money is not in the formal sector, that value creation is limited. And that is why this issue is very important. That's why it's such an important thing to drive. And it's not just about us or developing economies alone, it's across the world. It's just that for many developing economies, Nigeria inclusive, we have a larger sum of our money sitting in informal sector. Now, come back to women. I mean, practically everybody knows that women are entrepreneurial. I mean, women do a lot of stuff at home, and ensuring that the woman is empowered to be able to add to be productive, to add to the economy is so key in this part of the world and everywhere. If you look at Nigeria, I mean, you know, the adage is like a woman trains many children. Okay, so if you have a woman who is active, who is financially literate, or who is empowered to be financially independent, the impact on the economy is huge, and it is very important that we drive that financial inclusion for the whole populace, but more importantly for the women folks, because they can do a lot more with it. I mean, with the advance of microfinance and all that, you see that a lot of women with their petty trading, they're doing a lot more. They're not dependent on people feeding them. They can borrow small amount of money, they can turn it around and do various things, and before you know it, they're generating income and they're building on it. These are the things that ensuring that money comes into the formal sector, ensuring that the woman folk is empowered. These are the things it has to the economy, and it is such a multiplying effect that you cannot underestimate.
We have to start to think of how do we impact even within our communities, within our families. How many women, how many girls, our little girls at home, are we actually deliberately making them go into that area? Because tech is actually the future, and that is what is going to launch financial inclusion right now. That's the backbone, and that's why we're talking about finance and technology. That's how we coined the word fintech, because it's the backbone of what financial inclusion is thriving on right now. Bitcoin, blockchain, and all these things we're talking about, it's powered by technology. So that's why we can't leave it completely out. And it will thrive on the internet, via the internet. There's a whole lot that we can do. When I traveled to the East, I was amazed to see a lot of elderly people using smartphones. Who bought those phones for them? They are family members here in Lagos. So they are not completely cut off, but we just need to find a way to make it easily accessible to all of them. And they want to learn, they want to know. So training again is so important, training and mentoring. How do we take training to these communities? Because they might have a phone, but they might not really be making use of it the way they ought to, especially when it comes to financial transaction. You mentioned M-Pesa. One of the things that they did is that you could actually convert your data or your airtime and deposit money in the bank. So in cases where you don't actually want to go and set up physical bank offices, you can actually train these women to be able to use technology, and they will learn it. I was surprised one day I woke up on him and my mom was on WhatsApp. It's not like my mom is an illiterate, but she just doesn't like, you know, to come out like that. And I was surprised that she was chatting with me on WhatsApp. And I called my brother and I said, mom is on WhatsApp, there's a problem. Then the next thing she's on Facebook. I said, it's okay. So now I have to know what I'm posting. Because before I even say Jack Robinson, she would call my phone. When she calls me and I post it, I know she wants to tell me something. You know, so let's not say, that they are too old or they are too. Somebody that is an illiterate can actually be learned if the person undergoes training, mentoring, and it has to be deliberate.
Because we are specifically looking at rural communities too, because that's where the financial inclusion is least. We have to also bend the method which we use to talk to them to try to get them exactly where they are. Once you've done that, and as technology deepens, as internet penetration deepens, we have the 4G LTE deepening to rural areas, then we can begin to leverage more and more of those technologies. But as it is today, the technology has not gone that far. It's more in the western region, and if we looked at it to say Lagos was a mirror image of, say, somewhere in the northeast, then we are mistaken totally, right? It's there, but it's there in its rawest form, shallow forms. So we will need to look at getting, first, building the basics, getting champions in those areas, and then using those champions to push the technology to say, okay, you can use this technology for this, you can use this technology, but first to build the groundwork within those rural communities.
Mrs. Toyin Sani gives her takeaway from the event and the approach the WIFNG will take going forward in their financial advocacy role.
Honestly, to summarize my takeaway, I think I have two major takeaways. One is that women have a big part to play in the future of financial inclusion. And the second takeaway is that digital technology is also a big part of the future of financial inclusion. In fact, I would make bold to say not just the future, but even the present of financial inclusion.
And in terms of saying that, how would the women on finance in Nigeria help to advance this cause? We've heard so much about taking access to finance, the challenge of the unbanked, and the issues around financial inclusion. How would the women in finance help to advance this cause going forward?
The women in finance intend to play an active role in financial literacy. And you recall from the panel discussion that financial literacy is a big part of solving the problem. Secondly, women in finance are going to be involved in capacity building and, of course, advocacy and engagement with policymakers as well.
It is with great pleasure that I induct you all as senior executives, associates, and senior members and student members respectively of the Women in Finance Nigeria body. Congratulations.
With the women constituting 50% of the rising population in Nigeria, the WIFNG and other key groups and agencies have a vital role in collaborating to advance financial literacy and inclusion for women in the country. This is geared towards advancing the financial inclusion agenda of Nigeria 2020.